It says dress selection and design. It says on transparent tracing paper placed over a clearly drawn lay figure, sketch a silhouette suitable for a daytime dress or street suit, a silhouette with strong oppositional lines. To soften the angularity of the contour, let the silhouette coincide with the figure, where it tapers at the waistline and rounds out over the hip line. However, if you want a completely regular or rectangular shape, do not taper the lines at the waist. Draw the hemline at the currently fashionable length, and the shoulders either slightly squared or naturally rounded, again according to fashion. Let the bodice contour stand away from the body around the bust, and the sleeve stand away from the arms at the armpit. A bodice with the sleeve feels uncomfortable and looks skimpy if it fits skin tight over the bust or around the upper arm. Finish the silhouette by tracing carefully the head, hands, legs, feet, then hold it at arm's length to judge its quality. A narrow silhouette generally emphasizes the shoulder width more than hip or hem width. Never all three equally. So it's either the shoulder, the hip, or hem. The sleeve, a narrow skirt clings to the figure at the fullest hip width and from there falls vertically to the hem. The sleeve may fit the forearm, fall as a loose coat sleeve, slightly wider around the upper arm, or bell out a little wider at the lower edge. Either avoids the monotony of the sleeve exactly parallel to its whole length. The silhouette should be direct with no hesitancy of meaning. If your hand wobbles, steady it by resting your forearm comfortably on the table and the side of your palm and little finger on the paper. Wobbly lines indicate weakness and uncertainty. The structure lines of design. The structure, the seam, and dart lines take their cue from the silhouette. Verticals opposing horizontal. Draw the lines lightly but definitely. The verticals. Draw the verticals from shoulder to waistline, each side of center over the bust. Slant them slightly inward toward the waistline in harmony with the silhouette. They should never be exactly parallel to the center front, or the effect will be rigid. Continue the verticals from waist to hemline, slanting them outward very slightly from waist to hip line in harmony with the hip contour. If you wish to add 2 more verticals at the side front, avoid drawing them parallel to the first 2. Then add still another vertical at the center. If you find that you have too many lines, you can always erase them. Excuse me. Better too many than too few. In order to fit the figure, a seam or dart must always be placed near the bust in every design, regardless of line emphasis. The horizontals. So far, only shoulder lines and hemlines oppose the vertical. Introduce the nearly horizontal lines at either above the bust point or well below it. Then place 2 parallel lines at the waist to represent a belt, or omit these lines if you like and add a horizontal across the hips above their fullest width. Draw all horizontals entirely across the figure. Study your design. Are the spacings varied sufficiently without being too different to be harmonious? If you see needed improvements in spacing, erase, then adjust the lines until the proportions suit you. Before proceeding to the next step, trace 2 or 3 copies of your design. Convert the abstract lines and shapes into seams, darts, yokes, pockets, jackets, belts, and so on. Let your line arrangement suggest what you do. At this stage, you will notice that crisscrossing lines cut up your design badly. Erase the crisscrossing. The way you erase each tracing determines your final design, so let yourself go. Erase but try to save part of each line. Each finished design should show the same set of lines erased differently to produce a different theme. With no other inspiration that the restrictions imposed on the line arrangements, you will discover that you have created designs that you did not anticipate. Designs that fulfill the requirements of design principles. Okay. So you can have 3 possible line arrangements. Your lines can be similar, but arrange them as the spirit moves you. The possible combinations are almost limitless. Okay, so they're showing a few of them here, but the basic is just contoured vertical lines from the bust down to your hips. And you can add a belt. You can add collar, you can add buttons. The sleeves you can shorten, you can add a cuff. Analysis of completed designs. After adding the finishing touches, buttons, buckles, collars, costume jewelry, and so on, scrutinize each drawing carefully to see if it satisfies you. Each fulfills if it fulfills the requirements of composition principles. Study them as you read and then analyze your own designs following the same procedure. Proportion. The structural lines forming the design details repeat the contour, but with variety. Exact parallelism has to be avoided. Yokes or partial yokes break the bodice section well above the bust. And the Eden jacket design well below. Pockets or peplums cut across the figure above the fullest figure. That's rhythm. All verticals and follow through from bodice to skirt on the same axis, and the movement is therefore easy to follow. All verticals also taper inward toward the waist to accent waistline flexibility. To ensure continuity, all lines were drawn from shoulder to hem, from side to side, before parts of them were erased. The whole design was planned at once to coordinate its various components. Balance. Each design balances on the center, and the horizontal divisions break the spaces so that the bodice balances the skirt. Dominant inches. Staccato rhythm produced by repetition of shapes is dominant in each design. One line direction prevails in each, vertical or horizontal. The horizontal direction, of course, should have been stressed, but not equally with the vertical. Scan your designs to see if individuality, even originality, has crept in almost unconsciously. But do not struggle for originality. It will elude you if you do. Be satisfied if you've achieved harmonious designs that stand the test of composition principles. This achievement is more desirable than agonizing to create original but freakish clothes. Individual Individuality, even originality, almost certainly will come with practice if you analyze and improve each design as you progress. Okay. So I guess, let me see. Transitional line arrangements. To produce designs with less severity, convert the to transitional the oppositional arrangements already created. Change sharp angles into softened curves. Leave the silhouettes and the structural lines essentially the same, for curves need the reinforcement of straight lines. Place trace paper over the oppositional line arrangements and trace the outlines. Then experiment to see which angles to leave as they are and which to curve. You will discover that you cannot round off every angle. Repeated too often, curves become tiresome. Soften enough angles, however, to ensure the predominance of transitional feeling. You will recall also that the quality of a curve is finer when it is barely perceptible than when it is full-blown. Curves that straighten out or reverse direction are particularly intriguing. Judge your designs for the quality of the curve. Since curves are related to the body more naturally than sharp curve angles, you may prefer the transitional to the oppositional designs. I just want to note the drawings in this book look like statues. Okay. Okay, I think we're gonna pause, maybe. Let's see, if I get cut off, we'll continue in the next part. My page is facebook.com, Yosalplay, YOSALLPLAY. So, opposing diagonals. Experiment now with opposing diagonal seam lines. Oblique lines never oppose a rectangular silhouette. Even when you chevron. The movement, therefore, will be more active. Sharp opposing diagonals used repeatedly are so dynamic that they may overpower the personality of a sweet young girl, but by the same token, they are impressive on a woman with fine figure and forceful personality. On tracing paper placed over the same silhouette, draw diagonal structural seam lines. Fit the best curve with one seam line running from shoulder or armhole to across the silhouette diagonally near the bust point. Tilt all the lines to meet or cross on center in order to balance the two sides. If you wish to repeat the oblique seams to strengthen the line movement, place one seam above and one below the bust point because the pair of seams molds a bodice more skillfully than a single seam. This is a kind of the drawing of the opposing diagonals, dynamic curve to avoid rigidity and harmonize with curve of the body. So tilt the lines. Let me see. So all the lines are tilting to meet or cross on the center in order to balance the two sides. If you wish to repeat the oblique seams, it straightens and space them unequally. That curving the diagonal slightly softens it. Ruler straight lines are too harsh and wooden to harmonize with curves. Erase crisscrosses or parts of lines to reduce the number of small separated sections. Bounding a section on all sides cuts it off from the main body of the garment. You cannot eliminate all the separated pieces, but leaving several joints destroys the continuity of the design. The oblique emphasis of the design was strengthened by changing the skirt silhouette from rectangular to triangular. If you decide that a flared skirt would improve one of your own designs, flare it enough so that the hemline is wider than the shoulders. Equality of width destroys the dominance of either shoulders or hem. So, the bottom is the hemline down here. It should be wider. And the next is about radiation. Approach this design in the free manner characteristic of draping. This time, let radiating structural lines suggest the silhouette and flowing rhythm characterize the line movement. So